This is Lowcountry Money Talk, and we have talked about a whole lot of things. We always do. You know, Phil, I do want to spend our last segment here really talking about people's biggest fear. This bear market is not helping that. And the biggest fear, of course, out there, one of, is running out of money, especially during retirement.
Right.
So how do we manage that fear, right? I mean, we have to take income during a bear market. We need to pay our bills. But what do we do about that? Where do we take it from while we're, trying to reposition our equities and really prepare ourselves for the next bull market?
Well, Jessa, as we always talk on this show, there's just historicals, there's certain rules, rule of 100, buy low, sell high, all these typical rules, right? So let's go back to the sell high and the buy low rule for a second. So we don't want to panic and just run everything into cash and just take a hit. Like I mentioned before, we want to sell as the market's coming up, because if I sell all of this, one quick thing would be when a client says, well, Phil, what about this one? It's not doing so. I say, well, look, I'm going to sell yours, because when I sell yours, I know everyone else's will come up of that position, okay? Right. So, we don't want to just wholesale maybe sell that a really well-named position, but what we might do is kind of ease out of it and sell some shares, because little by little, maybe it's moving up a little bit, maybe still in a bear market. We do have little bull runs in a bear market, so we can have these upticks. So we want to kind of make sure, if we're overly aggressive, that we do the pullbacks during this time. But it's best that we don't take income out of these if we don't need it, okay? So the idea would be, if I have a lot of money sitting in the bank, I've already paid taxes on it more than likely, your emergency fund is 6 months expenses, and I have a year's expenses or 2 years expenses. Let's first deal with the bank. It's not paying you any interest, it's not paying you any, well, a little bit. We're not getting any dividends off these funds or whatever. So let's first of all take care of that.
Yeah. Okay.
Second of all, we do have an IRA. We have to take distribution.
Right.
If we miss our minimum required distribution, if we're over 72, it's a 50% penalty.
Yeah.
And that's not going to be good. So if my distribution requirement was 20,000 and I missed it, my penalty's 10. So I'm going to end up having to take 30.
Yeah.
Or more likely, write a letter to the IRS and plead for lenience. Please let me keep my right hand, don't chop it off. So, things of that nature. So it's like, okay, we've got to take this out. So then the first thing would be, if I have excess cash money market in my IRA, okay, then I would want to take it from there. I wouldn't want to necessarily liquidate positions to get it, but if I already had extra cash there. The best way is not to get in that position in the first place.
That's exactly. So preparing yourself for these bear markets.
You don't want to run out of gas on the middle of the highway, so don't do it.
Right.
Make sure that you have your assets, especially in your IRA, position that you have probably several years' income that you can take out, still earning interest or whatever, but not tied into equities, but still in the IRA format.
Got it.
So that you can say, okay, I knew this was going to happen one day, so I can take my required minimum distribution out of the IRA portion, which I do not have tacked into the S&P or to the stock market equities, okay? And then that way you avoid the problem to start with.
I love your analogies. So don't run out of gas in the middle of the highway.
Simple.
Don't sell high. Prepare yourselves. We have a minute before we gotta head out here, but can you kind of wrap up the summer for us? What are we looking at?
All right. I think more pain, unfortunately, but it's not necessarily what's in front of us, it's how we react to it. So let's be positive, knowing that each day that we're down, we're closer to the end, and then we want to make sure that we have a nice grouping of equities to go to the next bull market, but we also want to make sure that we don't sell out too low and all these other things, don't have too much exposure. But I think, we still have maybe some rough spots ahead of us here.
Absolutely, but the good news is you can really plan for that, manage it, make those pivots, have someone look at what you're doing. Most importantly, you got to know
Yeah.
where you are and where you measure against the market, and make sure you have enough money.
Get your analysis now,
Get your analysis now.
so you're ready.
I think that's it's always a good time, but especially when there's uncertainty.
Mm-hmm.
So the two biggest fears people have is running out of money and public speaking. And Phil, you public speak about not running out of
Right,
money.
absolutely. I got 2 of them covered right
You should have your own show.
I should do that.
And he does. It's Lowcountry Money Talk. We'll see you next time.